Hello, everybody. Louisa Jewell here, and I'm here with the wonderful Dr. Margarita Tarragona, and she is a world specialist on the topic of applying positive psychology to psychotherapy. So I'm so pleased that you're here.
So am I, Louisa. We don't have so many chances to get together in person, so I'm especially glad to be here today.
Well, it's wonderful. I'm so glad that you're here. And so tell us more about what you do. You are a specialist in positive psychology, but you also are a specialist in clinical psychotherapy. So tell us more about how those two come together.
I think it's really fascinating how for a very long time, therapists were trained just to look at what's problematic, painful, traumatic. And of course, that's very important. That's why most people go to therapy, because they're in pain. But it's also important to have a broader view of human beings and to always be aware that at the same time that there's difficulties and problems and pain, there is, brilliance and hopes and dreams and strengths. So one way the positive psychology has been defined that I really like is to have a more balanced psychology, a psychology that has tools to help alleviate what's difficult, but also tools that help people flourish. And I think that applies to therapy too. How can we have tools and interventions that help people get over what's keeping them stuck or what's painful, but also tools that help them really be the best they can be. Our mutual friends and colleagues, Dan Tomasulo and Martin Seligman, often say the phrase that not being depressed is the same as being happy. So I find that is very, very true.
Not being depressed doesn't mean that you're very happy.
Exactly.
Right.
It may be a requisite, like in order to be happy, you can't be depressed. But that idea, it used to be said that regular or traditional psychology would take you from -5 to 0. And positive psychology would take you from 0 to +5. But I think that's a little, exaggerated, because most people go to therapy not because they want to be like neutral. They want to thrive as well, right?
Yes. No, that's right. That's right. They don't want to. I mean, you think you're going to emerge from therapy being, this brand new person when really you're just like, okay, I'm okay now. But it's sort of like here's what's next. This is what you do next. Right? Once you're out of that kind of clinical range, out of the slump, it's what do I do? And also, so Margarita, why would I or anybody that's listening here today or watching today, why would they want to have a psychotherapist who has been trained in positive psychology? Why is that important? Because I know that's what you do. You train clinical psychologists, psychotherapists, and other clinicians on how to incorporate it. So why would I want to have that in someone I'm working with?
I think it's a really good thing to have. You reminded me of an article written many years ago by a psychologist named Kenneth Gergen, and he wrote about psychology and the diffusion of a culture of deficit. How, without being intentional, psychology has contributed to creating a culture of deficit. And I think that if you go to a therapist who's immersed in that culture and focuses more than anything on your deficits, on what's wrong, that becomes part of your identity. So I think it's important to have a therapist who does not transmit a culture of deficit to you, who takes your pain seriously and at the same time is aware of your strengths, of your dreams, of what's really, what you value in your life and what is valuable about you. I think that even though if it sounds subtle, it creates a different context and a different kind of relationship and experience.
And I would imagine that would prevent relapse as well.
It hasn't been studied. I think it'd be great. One interesting thing is, I once heard Christopher Peterson say that when the pioneers of positive psychology were imagining what will these research findings be applicable in what context, they didn't think therapy would be the best place for positive psychology, because supposedly positive psychology is for people who are doing well to do even better. But what's been really interesting is that it's been proven that people who are described as clinical populations, people who have depression, anxiety, do respond very well to positive activities or positive interventions. So I think that's been one of the pleasant surprises of positive psychology and its applications.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
This has been really enlightening. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your incredible knowledge, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you for yours too.
All right. Bye, everyone.